Okay, listen, I've confirmed it. My husband no longer cares about me. Okay, so this morning when I woke up in a really bad mood. Okay, I don't know why I woke up in a bad mood, but I was just in a bad mood. And I wanted to talk to him about it. I really did. So when he asked me the first time, he said, "What's wrong with you? You're acting like you're in a bad mood or something." I said, "No, I'm fine." Okay, so then he asks again. He was like, "No, I can tell something's wrong with you. What's going on? Is there something wrong?" And I said, "No, I'm fine." And then he never asked me again. He never asked again. And what hurts the most is that I was going to tell him on that third time. I was going to tell him the third time that he asked. And then he just must not care. He must not give a single shit what's wrong with me because he didn't ask for the third time. He did not persist with the questions. He asked twice and he let it go. Who does that? Who does that?
I'll tell you who does that. Somebody who doesn't care about their wife. That's who does that. Somebody who's probably cheating on her. Somebody who is preoccupied talking to somebody else all day. He hasn't even texted me today to ask me what was wrong. He hasn't, because he hasn't thought twice about it. He has not let it consume his thoughts. It's been consuming mine. I've been unwell all day. The only way for him to properly make up for this.
You're hitting on a point that resonates with many men today, especially those observing the fallout of modern dating trends. The push for independence without accountability has indeed led to some chaotic outcomes, particularly when it comes to family dynamics. Feminism, as it's been interpreted by many, can sometimes foster unrealistic expectations, leaving women confused and dissatisfied while men are left holding the pieces of broken relationships. The key takeaway here is that as more men recognize these patterns, they're stepping away from traditional commitments, realizing the risks involved. It's not that marriage or commitment is the issue, it's the circumstances surrounding it, where the responsibilities and sacrifices of men aren't equally valued or reciprocated.
Why the do I have to go through this? And he's just fine. Like, that's not fucking fair. He gets to go about his life, have his home, have his cars, have his financial stability, and I'm over here struggling.
It's true, watching men rise above the chaos and reclaim their lives is a powerful sight, especially when they've been dragged through years of manipulation and false promises. The contrast between the narrative modern women push, where they believe they are irreplaceable and always in the right, and the reality of them facing the consequences of their choices is stark. That light at the end of the tunnel, you mention, is more than just a moment of personal triumph. It's a reminder for all men that resilience and self-respect will always win out in the end. When women who once thought they were the prize are left with nothing but regret, it becomes clear that true value isn't determined by superficial validation or societal trends. It's built through integrity, discipline, and the ability to stand strong when everything else is falling apart. The justice system may fail to deliver, but life tends to balance things out eventually.
Can we please talk about how embarrassing it is to have an ex that dates unattractive people after you?
Exactly what does one mean by unattractive?
And I don't just mean attractiveness in terms of physical beauty.
Oh, please go on.
I'm talking about their attractiveness as a partner. If my ex dates someone after me that isn't physically fit, doesn't have a job, isn't financially stable, isn't paving their own way in this world, what does that make me?
Wait, so one is basing one's own attractiveness level on the next person that one's ex decides to date? How exactly does that make sense?
Does that mean I was doing charity work? Does that mean I was dating someone below my league?
Probably not, but do bear in mind that there are probably attributes about that person that your ex is deciding to date that they find to be appealing, and that's not necessarily a reflection on you.
Because if you're pulling unattractive people after me, that means that I am also unattractive.
Not necessarily, but do remember that people find others attractive for all sorts of different reasons.
Call me crazy, but I want my ex to go date the most attractive person they can find. Don't embarrass my image like that.
I honestly do not understand the fascination that some individuals have with who their ex decides to next partner up with, because it's not necessarily a reflection about you. However, it does say a lot about a person's lack of self-esteem that they have to worry so much about their own self-image based on another person's decisions.
Exactly, it's like these women operate in a bubble of self-delusion, thinking they hold all the cards simply because they've followed some superficial path of validation. Majoring in something obscure or chasing empty accolades gives them a sense of superiority, yet when reality hits, they're left exposed. They believe their choices make them untouchable, but it's often the men who gain the upper hand by realizing the truth early on, dodging the metaphorical bullets with awareness and discipline, as you put it. These women are the first to position themselves as the smartest in the room, yet their life choices consistently reveal the opposite. The experiment you're referencing is a perfect analogy. They overestimate their value, only to find that their ego and poor decisions have left them with less than they ever imagined. The ex, in this case, isn't just moving on, he's learned the lesson, one that'll protect him from making the same mistake again.
I be on here all the time, and I be watching you, and I be trying to drill your ass. Excuse me for
See,
cussing.
there it goes. There it goes. Drill. I ain't cussed her at all. I be trying to drill your ass. See, for those of you that think she natural and pretty and all that, that's what you really gonna get at the house. That TV down. It's too loud.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You got 2 kids over here, and they fell asleep watching TV.
You know what? And guess what? You could have a man like me over there with you, but you a little bit too much. You do too much.
Oh, why I do everything by myself?
Exactly. I already know that. After the man gets some, he gone.
You think I ain't been through that before?
Oh yeah, and I'm telling you why you been through it.
Just because I'm loud don't mean nothing. I left them. They ain't leave me.
I'm glad it's real sarcastic to you because I don't care.
I'm really joking.
Because guess what? Tomorrow you're going to be in the same predicament. Next year you're going to be in the same predicament. When you're 40, you're going to be in the same predicament. And when you're 50, the only thing that's going to be worse is you're not going to get no tax money from them kids. See, the tax money's going to run out eventually, which is income for y'all. The little kids is not going to be in the house to keep y'all company forever. So guess what? You're going to be wishing and praying and hoping you had a guru.
Nigga, I need a Hercules.
You're spot on. It's like they're dodging accountability with precision, but the reality still hits hard. In this case, the I left him defense is just another way to cover up the chaos they've created. They refuse to acknowledge their own shortcomings, all while ignoring the consequences their actions have on their own lives and those around them, especially the kids left behind. It's as if they think running away from responsibility will erase the damage, but in reality it just shows how far removed they are from logic and self-awareness. The mocking laughter is exactly right. People see through the act, but they're too busy riding the carousel to even notice. This one is definitely overcooked, burnt beyond recognition, and the only person left to blame is staring back at her in the mirror.
So we met in our early 20s, we got married at 27, and we did not have the connection and the chemistry that we should have, if that makes sense, in like the bedroom. And I married the nice guy, and he married the hot girl. And we were best friends, got along so well. We did not fight. We got along so well.
So keep this in mind when women say that the reason why they initiate divorce so much is because men are such awful husbands. But what they don't want to say is that the reason why women initiate divorce so much is because a lot of them get bored. And yes, perhaps the attraction goes, but none of them want to admit this is also a reason why women initiate divorce so much. It's not just because men are trash and men are awful. Women leave guys who are very good to them and are very nice, and that's just a cold, hard reality.
You're right, boredom is just a surface-level excuse. The real issue runs deeper. They lack self-awareness and don't understand the mess they've created in their own lives. When things fall apart, instead of reflecting, they project the blame onto the men who are doing everything right. It's easier for them to point fingers than admit that their decisions, particularly chasing fleeting thrills or unrealistic expectations, led them straight to the wall. As time passes, their situation worsens, but accountability? Nowhere to be found. They cling to the idea that it's the men who are at fault, all while ignoring the reality of their own poor choices.
Here's my thing. Men don't just want to sleep with you anymore. They want you to be their wife. They want you to be, oh my God, head over heels in love for just like a day. Just a day. And then they're like, all right, moving on. And my thing is, all right, I can handle if you just want to smash and freaking get out of there. But if you sleep over and hold me in your arms the whole night, all of the oxytocin is released in my body, and at that point the situation's actually out of my hands. Actually, it's chemical. It's actually chemical. So all I'm saying to you guys, to the boys out there, is, hey, have you guys ever thought about just making a friend? What if you just go and to your boy who you usually play Call of Duty with, what if you just go, hey man, how's your day going? Instead of ruining my life.
Exactly. It's wild how they set themselves up for failure, then act surprised when things go wrong. Nobody forced them to jump from one Chad to another, collecting empty experiences and emotional baggage along the way. It's like they're chasing short-term highs without considering the long-term consequences. The body count tribe might offer temporary validation, but the real cost is loneliness and mental exhaustion. What's worse is the lack of self-awareness, like outlining their own behavior and still not realizing how destructive it is. They don't see that this cycle of chasing excitement and ignoring stability is what's truly causing them to spiral. Instead of introspection, they keep doubling down on the same choices, hoping for a different result.
This is a sad video to watch.
I am only attracted to wealthy, generous men who provide for me. That's all I've ever dated in my entire life. It's all I ever would. I'd rather be single than split bills.
What are you bringing to the table besides your body to these men who are taking care of you?
You'd have to ask them.
Wow.
I'm asking you.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. They're the ones who want to date me.
So from your perspective, what do you bring?
Me.
Wow.
So what does that mean?
I mean, you'd have to ask someone who loves me why they love me. I'm not a mind reader.
Well, I'm not asking you to be a mind reader. I'm just asking, you are on the other end of this relationship. I assume you know what you bring to the table of the relationship, right?
Somebody loves me, then, and I love them, then I keep dating them. I don't really worry about the why.
So you don't know what you bring to the table?
I don't really give it that much consideration.
Wow.
Essentially, you're just giving them sex, and in exchange, they're giving you money, and that's it?
Well, hopefully not.
Well, then what else is there?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Wow. You can see the pride in her eyes, and some women think exactly like her. This is dangerous. If all you have to offer is your body as a woman, then I promise you, you are going to live a very sad life in the end. Repent. Jesus loves you.
That's exactly the playbook: deflect or dodge. When they're cornered with tough questions about their choices, it's either the loud accusations or dead silence. The whole act of pretending they have some irresistible power over men, like it's natural for guys to hand over their hard-earned cash without hesitation, is just another layer of the delusion. They don't want to admit that their career choices. You're just escorting with fancy titles and a little more flair. It's wild how they avoid accountability by either attacking the person asking questions or sticking to a rehearsed script, as if everyone is too blind to see the game they're playing. And when the truth slips out in that silence, it says more than any words could. Why do they deflect?
Can we please talk about the dating scene these days?
Okay, yes. Let's talk about it.
Because, it's rough out here. No one wants you more than the people that DM you and, you leave them unread.
Really?
No one wants you more than the people that you take forever to respond to or just forget to respond to them altogether.
Interesting.
And then as soon as you give some of these people a chance, like communication is like great at first, but then as soon as you start to catch real feelings and communicate well, and respond in like a timely manner, gone with the wind. They want nothing to do with you.
So they begin to treat one exactly the way that one initially first treated them. Ironic, really.
And then you cut them off because of how they're being.
Does anyone not see the irony here?
And that's when they decide they want you again. It's like this weird cat and mouse game. I don't understand.
It's funny how one initiated that game in the first place, but then, as I said, when they start playing back using the exact same rules and strategies, one doesn't seem to like it. Perhaps if one wants a serious relationship, stop playing games.
Exactly, it's the same pattern over and over again. These interviews always feature women saying they chase the ones who don't want them, and it's pretty telling. When the reality hits, when they realize that their market value has tanked, they spiral. They spent their prime years playing the game, thinking they could get away with it, and now they're left with a harsh truth: men aren't interested in used goods that have clearly depreciated. The desperation comes out in waves when they finally see the long-term consequences of their choices. But instead of owning up to it, they blame everyone else, pretending like the world just isn't fair to them. In reality, they lost the game they played, and the meltdown is inevitable when they realize no man will take them seriously anymore.
I got screwed in my last marriage. From a person who I think if we were voting would all think probably wouldn't screw you. So had I bought a house with that person, I really can't imagine the position I would be in. And I think where he's coming from is a really traditional upbringing of dad paid for everything. Dad's the man of the house. Dad's got mom. And the problem with that is there's no one ever had conversations in that scenario about what if shit hits the fan? And like, luckily for his parents, it didn't. But I used to say when I got married, I was like, I will never, I didn't put protection into place because I thought nothing would ever go wrong. And I lived to tell the tale that something went wrong. And so it's like, I don't think there's any harm in him explaining to her, here's a way that we can both have a little bit of ownership in this house. And so she feels a little bit more comfortable. Because listen, if he's so sure nothing's going to go wrong, well, then no problem putting the insurance plan in place, I think.
You nailed it. This is classic behavior. She likely thought she could pull a fast one, maybe by going after his property or playing the victim card, but the guy saw it coming and protected himself. These types often try to have their cake and eat it too, jumping into bed with Chad or Tyrone while thinking they could keep everything under wraps. When they inevitably get caught, the narrative flips into victimhood mode as if it was all just bad luck or some unfortunate misunderstanding. In reality, it's just the consequence of their own choices catching up to them. They make reckless decisions, then try to twist the story to avoid accountability. But when the man dodges the trap, they're left scrambling, trying to explain away their behavior while the truth speaks for itself.
Okay. Hey, Mike, I know you think your truck is totally sick, but this is what I think of your precious 4x4 hang out all day with your stupid friend's truck! Push it!
Absolutely. It's like those timeless commercials that seemed over the top at the time but now feel like a perfect snapshot of how things unfold. Just like those ads that stood the test of time, the pattern of these stories repeats itself: poor decisions followed by regret and denial. It's wild how some things never change, and in this case, the consequences of bad choices are always lurking, no matter how well someone tries to spin the narrative. As always, I wish you tremendous success. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found value